Okay, so now that we have the bodice put together, it is time to do the sleeves. But first we have to prep for the sleeves by putting the shoulders together. So, as you can see here, this is the whole shirt layout, and I have one shoulder pinned and ready to sew. To do this, you need to have it the wrong side inside facing you, and then you just need to bring these pieces here together and make sure you're pinching them together from the inside, because that way the seam will be on the inside. Be sure to line up your notches. That is most important. And don't worry if it doesn't meet totally all the way on one side. And don't stretch your notches open. So you can see it didn't really quite meet here, but that's okay. It's not by much. We can always trim off any excess. And it did happen to meet just about on the other side, so again, just make sure the notches match. That is most important. Okay, so now both of these are ready for sewing, and you know it's ready if it looks like an armhole, and the armhole and all the seams are on the inside. So that is, like most of the rest of the shirt, 1/2 inch stitch length. Okay, so the next step is, once you have sewn your shoulder seams, you do need to right away get them ironed. It's just going to help you with attaching the sleeve and sewing. I recommend you put it around the arm of the ironing board if it's small enough, and just kind of pre-open it and iron. Fairly straightforward. So yeah, this should be the outside now. The inside. Okay, so now it's time to prep the sleeves. So as a repeat, the cap should be going towards the inside. This should be the outside of the fabric, the right side, the side with the pattern, and the cap should be going towards the inside, the wrong side, like this. Then, once you're on the wrong side, you need to make sure that the seam also ends up on the wrong side. So don't do this. This is the outside, but if I sew it like this, the seam is going to end up on the right side of the fabric. Don't do this. Again, this is the inside. The cap is going towards the inside, wrong side. I'll even take a pencil and I'll write the word wrong on there. So, to get the seam to go on the inside, we need to actually put the right sides together like this. Yes, your cap is probably going to get a little wonky. Now again, match up the notch first thing. Notches match. Okay. Doot. Yes, that is the sound of my cat eating. And it's okay, I have this part where the ends are not totally lining up. It's okay because I wanted the notches to match. That was more important. And making sure that the edges on this side match as well. So again, I wrote the word wrong here. The seam should be putting those right sides together. This is the wrong side. And you want to know how I know this is true? Because if I flip it inside out, you will notice that the seam is now on the inside, not the outside here, and the cap is also on the outside. This is what a final sleeve should look like before you are ready to attach it. Like this. So if it doesn't look like this, you need to re-examine your sleeve and figure out where you went wrong, because the seam should appear like on the wrong side will appear like this. So do that to both your sleeves and then you're ready to start attaching. Okay, so after you finish doing your side seams nice and straight and even, then it's time to, yes, iron those as well. They will get in the way, and this will help you with pinning if these seams are open and flat. So as you can see, I fit half this arm onto the ironing board just so that I can iron it nice and flat. And then you can just flip it around. Except at this point, I think it's too hard to try and fit around this particular ironing board. And I don't have any of the small, tiny little ironing boards for sleeves and stuff, but this should be fine as long as you don't iron these edges, because then you'll create a crease. So just get this nice and flat. And now you are officially ready to pin these into your bodice. Alright, so as I said, it's now officially time to attach the sleeves to the bodice. So, with that being said, you need to have your bodice and your sleeves, and of course your pins. And you'll notice that one sleeve has, well, both sleeves have a side that has 2 darts and a side that has 1 dart. So I would just say, I don't think I remember if there was a particular side that each sleeve needed to go on, but let's go ahead and get this bodice. So we're going to work backwards. Okay, there's that side, and here is the other side, and here's the armhole. So I know that I want, first of all, I want the seam on the inside. This should have been flipped. So make sure your sleeves are flipped inside out already. Seam on the outside, cap going towards the inside like that. Same thing here. This is the seam, cap, this is outside, the cap should be going like that direction. This looks like it is probably the good contestant for the left sleeve here. So anywho, I know that this top seam is supposed to match up with this top notch. So if you'll notice when looking at the sleeve, there's a notch here, and then there are these side notches, one here and two here, and then the bottom seam is right there. So what you need to do is you need to match this top notch with this top seam, and the bottom armpit seam, both of those need to match as perfectly as possible. You will be marked down on that if they're not. So that's where we'll start. We'll start with first figuring out how to pin it. So if you fold that in and you attach them like that, so this is how I want the seam to look. Then I go to the inside while I'm holding them, and I notice that I have to attach them like this. So I hope you were watching. I'll do it one more time. So if this is the outside of the sleeve, and I match the tops right here, and I push some of the fabric inside that's gonna get eaten by the seam like this, then I can open it while I'm holding it. And then I notice that it gets put in like this. So step one, match up the seams. Now if you find yourself running into an issue where the fabric is like this, I would say just match it with the bottom one, and then you would even it out the pinning like this. You'd end up just cutting off a little triangle strip. Okay, so I'm gonna pin this top notch to match with this top seam, the shoulder seam that we just did. Okay, then let's go to the bottom and let's match these up right away. Side sleeve of the, excuse me, side seam of the sleeve and side seam of the shirt. Together, they form the armpit right here. And like I said, try to, if you're having this discrepancy issue, just match up with the lower one. Pin your flaps open and flat. And they need to be sewn over, open and flat. Same thing here. Now I notice that my notches here, I have a notch on the bottom of the shirt and a notch here with the sleeve, and they're matching up not perfectly. Now there's a little bit of loose fabric, but again, this sleeve had that, it's a bit long here, so this will just get like, I don't know, trimmed off. But I'm really happy that that notch matched up perfectly after realizing that there's a length discrepancy here. I'm going to pin this other flap open and flat. I'm going to pin that. And now let's move to the other side, because between the notches there was no E-stitching here. The E-stitching is only on the arm sleeve after those notches. So now over here, I'm not doing so good with these notches matching up. And so I just want to take a look now, and I want to see if maybe I need to relieve some of that ease stitching. So all I would have to do is just pull a little, and then I might be in a better position. So this is the part where you're going to have to play around with matching these lengths up, because right now this is too big, this is too small. So I'm going to let go some more of mine. And in the end, if you just can't match up the notches on both sides, then that's okay. As long as the top notch is matched and the bottom seam is matched, those are the two most important areas that need to be matched. The rest can be compromised a little bit if needed. And again, discrepancy here with the height, just even it out, you know. So if this, you know, if I were to take scissors, I'd probably cut right along here so that those make a curved line that matches up. So do that with your pinning. You'll end up with something like this, and that's totally okay. So, and also the reason why mine probably the notches don't match and my sleeve doesn't fit is because I did size adjust my shirt a little bit, which was not part of the instructions, but I kind of actually want to be able to wear this. Okay, so again, not going to worry about that. And we left those strings long and loose so that you could, even in this stage, you could continue adjusting until the lengths match up. So let's just, notches didn't match there, oh well. Aha, did I get, yep, remembering to pin it open and flat. Yep. And you can always manipulate the fabric if like you're struggling where it's like this. Remember, you can just kind of force it. You just do that with your thumbs. You can kind of pinch the middle there, make a match. But we don't want to end up with any tucks or gathers, so that needs to be done only as needed. Okay, pinning that open and flat. Same thing with this side. Same thing with that side. Okay, it's starting to come together here. Okay, so I officially finished matching up the sleeve, and I want to check my work. So I'm going to go back to the outside, and I'm going to look at it. And wow, yeah, that looks pretty good. The seams are probably going to match up, I think. And I don't have any tucks. And it fits. And it looks like I'm ready to sew. And I might even throw in just a few more pins just to be on the safe side. And this stitch is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And after you're done doing the stitch, you need to make sure that none of this ease stitching shows on the outside. If it does, you need to remove it, because that is a quality issue. Nobody sells garments at the store that still has ease stitching visible. So, same thing applies here. And I recommend that the arm of the sewing machine, if you're using a machine, that you just kind of put it on the arm like that, or if the arm is, like this, and you need to try and make your seam line to follow this curve. And if it helps you to make the curve more even, I'm probably going to go in and I'm just going to trim off that excess before I even start sewing, just so I don't get confused. Okay, that looks a lot better, right? Now they're actually even. Now I needed to kind of cut off this triangle too. Was there anything else that was kind of not matching up? I think the rest of it was pretty good. It was just those two corners. Alright, so then go ahead and stitch them on, and then we'll be ready to do the collar.